transition between where we are today with coal and oil and nuclear to maybe greener technologies, or even a lot of electricity on our roofs and solar and disintermediating the utilities completely. How long really should that, do you think that process should have, could take?
Well, it's certainly a long-term process, especially in the context of what we know about global warming. The problem with this particular deal is that the EPR, the European Pressurized Reactor, that is planned for Hinkley, it's about 3 times over cost and 3 times over time at both of the builds in Olkiluoto and Flamanville. So the difficulty is, if we're seeing some form of electricity gap in the early 20s, Hinkley is very likely to come on stream until maybe 29, 30. And there are all kinds of problems associated with it. The French regulators have identified that there is a structural problem in the reactor pressure vessels already installed in Flamanville and, unfortunately, for the Chinese in Taishan 1 and 2. So it'll probably take about, up to the middle of next year to understand what's going on. And if there's one problem that you don't want with a nuclear power is a problem with the reactor pressure vessel. So the key problem is this. If we invest so much money, so much of our interest in what looks like to be a problematic reactor, we won't really have enough money left over for what is essentially the renewable evolution, which is largely being supported, as I say, by Germany. The levy control framework, which supplies all of UK sort of funding for low carbon renewables, will be essentially eaten up by nuclear, and there'll be nothing left for true renewables. And you're seeing the decimation of the renewable market in the UK now.
I take your point, Paul, and it's very well made. But I mean, just to round the circle on this one, you say the UK government thinking is almost perfect combination of ideological hubris and evidence-free policy making. The problem as well with the alternatives that I think you're championing, such as wind and specifically, I guess, offshore wind, is that it too is very ineffective when there are power surges. It's very ineffective potentially when you have too much wind. It is stunningly expensive. In fact, I remember speaking to the CEO of a huge wind supplier who said, you're absolutely right. The mechanisms are not right. They're not efficient at this moment. And we're on a time frame. And just the other alternatives, such as wind offshore, they're just not viable when we need the energy at the moment, are we? So we have a security issue on our power supply.
I don't think that's necessarily true. I mean, as I say, there are such problems with the EPR reactors. I mean, they are 3 times over time. Hinkley won't even be started to be built before, because of the reactor pressure vessel problems. And also, by the way, it's subject to an Austrian legal challenge through the European Courts of Justice, which will take maybe up to 2 years to go through the European Courts of Justice. So you're talking about the beginning of a Hinkley build at maybe 2018, 2019, and if you look at Flamanville and Olkiluoto, the other 2 EPRs that have been built in Europe, you're talking about maybe a 10-year plus build. So you're talking about, as I say, the late 20s before Hinkley generates 1 iota of power. Now, in the meantime, if you really want to look at energy, energy efficiency, banks for buck is really what it's about, and it is, according to Germany, the strongest industrial state in all of Europe. The next big thing is truly the renewable evolution. This notion that renewables can't do it is deeply problematic. And also you're talking about whole other sort of sets of issues around energy efficiency, energy management, demand-side management, and key to this all is grid upgrade.